Okay, so in our last video, what we did was we created this new method called Draw Other UI. And so what we have in there right now is basically some buttons that allow you to manipulate your beats per minute. Okay, and so that creates a lot of functionality to our program. And using those same principles, you could create even more functionality. For instance, what if we didn't want the user to have just 16 beats that were on the screen? What if we wanted to show them and allow them to edit 30 beats or 80 or whatever? Okay, we might have another button or a set of buttons that allows them to control how many boxes that represent beats show up on the screen. Now, that is not what we're going to be doing in this video. As I told you before, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to have this idea of drawing visuals on our canvas. Okay, and what I can think of to drawing visuals is we're going to have a single array that's going to be called the visuals array. Okay, so what we're going to say is let visuals equal an empty array. So this is going to be our visuals array. And so whenever a note plays, it's going to add something to this array that will then draw something or do something. Okay? And so what are we going to add to that array? Well, if we have, this is how I always like to name things. So here we have an array called notes played. And if I were to create an object for this, I would have something called notes, okay, or something like that. And here we have something called visuals, an array. And so the individual items within this array would be some kind of visual, okay? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to create an object called a visual, all right? And so what is this visual going to take in as parameters? Well, it's going to take in the x and a y that we want it to happen, and it's going to take in a type and an iteration. Okay, and we'll explain what those what those really mean. So this is just where this visual is going to start. Okay, it may not start in the same place every time. Okay, it may want to bounce around the screen, or it may want to get bigger, smaller, whatever. Okay, and so we want to be able to keep track of that and to be able to change that value if we need to. And so I'm just going to say this dot y is equal to y. We're going to set the values within the object to the parameters that were passed in. Okay, so this is the value that this holds, and this is the value we're setting it to. Okay, and so this dot type is equal to type, and this dot iteration is equal to iteration. Okay, and so some other values that may not be passed in. Now, there may be lots of visuals that we want, and not all visuals are going to use these other properties that we're going to put into this function. Okay, so one property I might want to have in here is I might want to have this dot radius. Okay, and I'm going to set it equal to 100. Okay, so every visual that gets created is going to have a property called radius, and it's going to be of value 100. And we might want to have some kind of value called decrement value. So we're going to say this dot decrement value is equal to, well, what do we want to equal to? Well, if I have, so our first visual, I'm envisioning having circles that are of a certain size, and then they get smaller and smaller until they disappear. And we don't want these to stay on the screen for very long, because we really want them only during the sound that's being played. And so we want to be able to decrement them in a fashion that only allows them to stay on for so many frames. Okay, and so this is where this is going to come in. Okay, so this is basically telling us how many frames it should be on the screen. And what this decrement value is, how much are we getting rid of this radius? How much smaller is this radius getting per iteration? Okay, and so here we're going to say math.floor, and we're going to say 100, which is the radius, and we're going to say iteration. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to create some random colors. Okay, so we're going to say let red equal to math.floor. Now, up to this point, we've used a lot of built-in colors, like when we do quotation marks black or red or whatever. But you can use RGB values as well, okay? And that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to say let red equal to this number, okay? So here we're going to say times 256. And then I'm just going to copy this and paste it a few more times. And so red, and then this is blue for RG, green, and this is gonna be blue. So all that looks good, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set its color. So we're going to say this dot color is equal to, and then this is going to be RGB, and then we're going to say plus red, plus green, oops, I already did that, plus blue, and then plus we're going to have this final thing, and then we are going to set the color equal to that. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is what we want to do is we want to push to this visuals function every time that a sound is about to be played. And so when do we know that a sound is going to be played? Well, it's going to be played like right here, when if notes at this position is equal to 1, we're setting this source and we're about to play that source. Okay, so right here we should probably push to our visuals. So we're going to say visuals dot push. So we're going to add this to our array, and we're going to say new visual. And so here we're going to say new visual, and we're going to say 650 because they're all going to be at 650, and this is going to be 20 plus, how about this, 45 plus I times 25. Okay, so this is all of type 1, so this first visual is our first type, and it's going to be the circle type. And then here, frames per beat is actually what we're going to be setting the iteration to. Okay, and so here, what we could do here is not add it within this case. What we want to do is add it right here. Okay, and so it gets added to visuals. And what we might want to do now is draw our visuals. Okay, and so I'm going to come down here and we're going to iterate over that array called visuals, and we're going to draw something. So we're going to say function draw visuals, and we're going to say for let I equals 0 while I is less than visuals dot length I plus plus. Then we're going to say if visuals, since we might be doing multiple types, we're going to say if visuals.type is equal to 1, then it's going to happen here. Whatever's happening with this type of visual, it's going to be within this if statement. And then if there's another type, then it's going to be down here in another if statement. But what we're going to do is we're going to say ctx dot begin path, and we're going to draw a circle, so we're going to do an arc. So ctx dot arc, and here we're going to use the values within our visuals. So this is visuals at I, and then this is going to be dot x, so this is the value of the x of that item within our array. I'm just going to copy this because, again, lazy. This is going to be a y. This is going to be radius. And then, so here, we're going to start at 0, and we're going to go to 2 times math.pi. And so basically this creates a full circle. If you wanted to do a semicircle, you could start at pi, math.pi, and go to whatever, 2 times math.pi. That would create a semicircle. Or you could start at 0 and go to pi. That would create a semicircle in the other direction. You get the idea. Okay, you can play with that if you like. So, in fact, you could start by making half an arc, and then as time goes by, you could make it a full circle, and that would be kind of cool. ctx dot fill style, and our fill style is going to be equal to that color that we create inside our visual, and we're going to say ctx dot fill, and then ctx dot stroke. In fact, what if we did this? What if we just left that out? And then we're going to do visuals.radius. And this is where we're going to decrease the radius, because we want to start at a big radius, 100, and then we're going to slowly, it's going to happen very quickly, but we're going to slowly make it smaller and smaller. And so how are we going to do that? We're going to say minus equals our decrement value. Okay? And then what we want to do is, here we're going to say if visuals at I dot radius is less than or equal to 0. Well, what do we want to do if it's less than or equal to 0? It's no longer visible to us. It's going into a negative radius. We probably want to get rid of it. We want to get it out of our array. So we're going to say visuals dot splice, and we're splicing from the I index to 1, to 1 past the I. Okay, so we're just getting rid of this index, okay, and removing it. So in that aspect, this kind of works like an array list, and in that we could just say remove. But that's how we do that in JavaScript. Okay, and so here, that should cover that. Let's see if visuals actually work. So let's go ahead and draw our visuals when spelled correctly. Okay, so I'm just going to do this. And nothing's happening, but let's look at what could be the cause. So I not defined on 199. Oh, it's not I'm using R. Okay, so we'll do that. Turn this down. Okay, so let's go ahead and increase the beats per minute. Okay, so it kind of looks cool in that, you know, it's constantly changing colors, and you can see as the beats per minute increase, the frames that the circle stayed on the screen is actually not very long, and so you can actually see the decrement of the circle, of the radius of the circle, in that it kind of looks like a Saturn's ring as it kind of disappears, and so you know, it's kind of cool. And you know, what I would like to do next is one more type of visualization where let me go ahead and refresh that. What I'd like to do next is one more type of visualization where maybe the circle, instead of gets smaller, maybe the X and Y kind of spiral around or something like that. Okay, and so we're going to do one more visualization. And then what we want to do is 2 visualizations on our own. Okay, and so the next video, what we want to do is, how are we going to determine which visualization we're using at any one time? Well, we're going to have another menu item down here that says, instead of adjust BPM, it's going to say adjust visual or something like that. And then as we click the up and down or whatever arrow that's going to occur over here, it's going to change the type of visualization that's being played over here. Okay, and so that's those 2 things are what we're going to be doing in our next video, and I'm looking forward to doing that with you.